Let's go to Mary in Bakersfield, California. What's up, Mary?
Hi.
What are you
How
doing?
Are you?
I'm great. What are you doing?
I'm in my car. I'm at work, but I took a little time aside to talk to you.
That's fantastic. Do you look like a phone creeper, like in the car? Are they going to walk by and be like, "What's Mary doing?"
I don't think so. I don't see anybody right now.
Good. We have a covert. Okay, good. All right. So what's up?
Well, when I emailed your show, I was talking about how I'm racially mixed. I was born to a Mexican mother and a white father.
Okay.
They couldn't take care of me on their own, so I was put up for adoption at birth. The family that took me in as my foster parents, they adopted me officially at age when I was 4. And they're both white, both from Ohio. They don't speak Spanish at all. And what I've noticed is, since I look Mexican, I've noticed that a lot of Hispanic people expect me to speak Spanish or fit in with the culture somehow, and I don't.
Okay.
And I've never felt comfortable in my own skin about it. Like where I work on the east side of town, and it's, I guess, I'd say 90% Spanish speaking. And sometimes the reactions I get from people for not speaking Spanish is like they think I'm a traitor, or like I'm going against my race. And they obviously they don't know my story.
Sure.
And it's really, honestly, it's hurtful. I get really hurt by the judgment. And honestly, I've met my mother's family. I met them about 22 years ago, and I have a half brother on that side. And I hear people talk about how Mexican families are so close, but this one isn't, and they're backstabby. And I've seen the way they treated my mother. I never got to meet her; she died before I could meet her. Mm. And I see the way they treated her and my brother, and I can see why they weren't there.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
Yeah. We can walk through the racial and ethnic identity stuff, okay?
Yeah.
But at the core here, I see. How old are you, Mary?
47.
47.
Yeah.
I just see a beautiful young woman lost at sea. And I see a beautiful young woman lost at sea who doesn't like herself. And I want to ask you, forget the voices. The voices that are asking you, why did your mom and dad put you up for adoption? Why did you get raised by a white family in Ohio? Why do people in your neighborhood constantly tell you you're not enough, you're too much, whatever? Take those voices aside for a second. That's hard. I know those voices are hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why don't you like Mary?
I wouldn't say that I don't like myself. I just don't like how people treat me. It's usually other Mexicans that treat me this way, like I'm not Mexican enough, and they don't.
I know.
Strangers that.
But the fact that voice gets into your soul so much.
Well, that's the side that rejected me. The Mexican side, my Mexican mother's family did not take me in. If it wasn't for my grandparents.
There we go. Hold on. Whoa. Let's don't racialize this.
Okay.
Your mom's family said they don't want anything to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that hurts. Let's sit on that for a second. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to take a paintbrush and paint the entire Mexican culture. Because you said Mexican families are supposed to be like X and mine is like Y. Then what you're doing is you're doing the exact same thing that those people in your community are doing to you. They're looking at you and saying, well, you should be like this. And that's not fair to do. Let's just look at this family that is choosing actively to not be in your life. We can't run from that. Let's sit in that for a minute because it hurts so bad. And if we avoid that grief with all this other stuff, the other stuff is real. The ethnic identity and the racial, that's all real. But when we avoid that hurt by this, Whew, man. It's heavy. And what about your bio's dad's family?
I found them through the DNA ancestry. I haven't found my father, but I found his family.
Okay.
And they, believe it or not, most of them live in Arkansas.
I don't know. Why is that funny?
Well, because it's a weird story. I haven't found him, but I did track down relatives in Arkansas through the DNA test.
Okay. Why haven't you reached out to him?
I can't find him. They don't know where he is either. And I won't get into that. But
okay.
But anyway, I mean, they've been good about it. I mean, and my mother's family hasn't been all bad, but I've seen the way they not only treated my mother when she was alive, I've seen the way they treat each other. And if it hadn't been for my maternal grandparents, my brother that I mentioned, he probably would have been put in the foster system too. Mm-hmm. By the time I came along, they were too old to take on an infant, and nobody else stepped up. My mother came from a large family. She was number 9 out of 10 children, and somebody could have stepped up and taken me, and they just didn't.
And that right there, Mary, that's where you got to park. I can hear that your voice changes. You got so much anger there.
Yeah.
They should have.
Yeah.
And now 47-year-old Mary is choosing to cut her life short with high blood pressure and increased heart rate and not sleeping and goofed up relationships because you won't put that anger down. They should have shown up and they didn't. And the question you got to ask yourself is, am I going to continue to carry that around like a sack of bricks on my shoulder, or am I going to set that crap down? I have a little girl. She's 7. I can't imagine taking a breath of my life without her anymore. And I can't even identify with what you experienced as a kid. I can't wrap my head around it. Do you have kids of your own?
No.
Okay. Here's why I think you need to spend some time with Do I Like Mary? It's really common for people who have experienced what you've experienced. Even though it sounds nuts, there's a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old little girl wondering, what is so wrong with me? What did I do? And I want to tell you, you did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom and dad, your bio mom and dad had stuff going on in their life that had nothing to do with you. And you were a casualty of it.
Mm-hmm.
Your extended family on both sides had stuff going on in their life, had nothing to do with you. You were a casualty of it. I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up, I've spent my whole life, except for the last 5 years, in Texas. And so there was I think it was in the 80s, maybe 70s or 80s. There was a swath so I grew up around Mexican and Hispanic people. That's my life. And there was a whole movement to not speak Spanish in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got many friends who are younger than you, but not by a lot, are so just pissed that their parents didn't teach them Spanish, didn't teach them part of the culture. And it's become this cool adventure. Not you should be, not like that. That kind of pressure solves no problems, right? It just creates gas, like indigestion gas. But an adventure to find out, how far does this string go?
Mm-hmm.
And you've been on Ancestry, so you've been digging, right?
Yeah, for years.
Yeah. So I think once you can start digging, not out of desperation to find out where I come from, but in a spirit of adventure and a spirit of, I want to explore this. Now you got there's a whole different attitude towards it. And then maybe one day, let me ask you this. This is a hard question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you embarrassed that you can't speak Spanish?
No, I mean, I've taken Spanish classes and I'm not real good at it.
Yeah, but you got to do that in high school. Are you embarrassed that you can't speak Spanish? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because it's like that's
because
you. Identify. Well, I mean, I wish I could identify with the Mexican side. I wish. The thing is, growing up, I didn't have that parent to identify with. I didn't have like what other ethnically mixed people have. Like, oh, my mom's family was this, so I used to go to my, if I could have said, oh yeah, my mom's Mexican, and I used to go in my tia's house, or on my white side, I went to my aunt's house. I don't have that. I didn't have that growing up, so I can't identify with it.
Why are you so mad at Mary for that? Mary didn't do anything.
I'm not mad at Mary.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
not mad at Mary.
Yes, you are. I can hear it. When you say,
I don't feel like I'm mad at myself.
When you're embarrassed that you can't speak Spanish, there's a difference between being embarrassed and wishing I could. My kids know my sister is Tia Loca.
Mm-hmm.
I wish with all of my heart I was more fluent in Spanish. I could speak a lot more than I actually can. I wish. But I'm not mad at myself for it.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's taking it right now. She's incredible at it. She just chose one day. This is just dumb to only know a little bit of Spanish. And we do it for hospitality purpose. We want to be able to speak to people in our community that we hang out with, that are our friends, that we love. And so it's a hospitality thing for us. But it's not a matter of I should have and I suck and they should have told. You see the anger and rage you got on this?
Mm-hmm. Now
imagine you're in algebra class and there's somebody screaming in your ear, "You should know this. You're an idiot." Can you learn under that condition?
No.
No.
Well, then how do you think I would be out of line if the next person who treats me differently for not speaking Spanish, you think I should tell them, hey, the reason why I don't speak Spanish is because I wasn't raised in a Mexican family? You think that would be too bold?
I don't think it's too bold at all. No. What's it going to solve?
Well, I mean, I think they should know. Sometimes I think they should know, hey, I wasn't raised by a Mexican family. I may be Mexican ethnically, but I wasn't raised by a Mexican family. And so
will that make you feel better?
I think so. I don't think I should keep it a secret. I should be able to talk about it.
Or if you just said quietly, I got adopted by a white family. I'm
getting to the point where I'm starting to, I think people should know, like, I'm sorry. I wasn't raised in a Spanish speaking home.
I wouldn't apologize for it.
Yeah.
And I also implore you with all my heart, you got to stop letting all these other voices speak into who you are and what your value is. You don't know these people.
Mm-hmm.
They're just neighbors clowning on you.
Mm-hmm.
An exercise that I did once that was awful, that ended up being amazing, was I want you to take and I'm passing it along to you. This is your homework assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to take a small box. It could be a shoe box or it can be something fancy from a store. I want you to take a small box, empty it out, and put it on your kitchen table. This is just you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to take out some note cards, 5 of them. And I want you to write on the note card the name of a person you are giving permission to speak into your life. What I mean by speak in, they get to tell you, you shouldn't have done that. You just violated your core values. You need to take down that post off social media. That's what people in my box are often telling me. You hurt me. They get to tell you those things. And if they're not in the box, your life practice becomes not caring what other people say. And let me be real honest with you. I've taken my parents out of that box. I love them. I've got great parents. They don't get a vote on how I raise my kids. They don't get a vote on what I should or shouldn't be doing or what job I should be taking. They don't get a vote on that. My in-laws don't. I love my in-laws. I won the lottery with my in-laws. They don't get a vote. I've got 5 friends and my wife. Maybe 6 friends and my wife. Those are the people I've given permission. You know who else doesn't have permission? My kids. Because they're 7 and 13. They can't buy beer yet. So they don't get a vote. Right? We walk around, especially with social media, we walk around and we let every everybody else tell us what we should and shouldn't be doing and feeling and who we should be hating and what skills we should have and what skills we shouldn't have. And that's too Mexican. That's not Mexican enough. Oh, and by the way, when you learn Spanish, you're not going to learn the right accent. You're going to be a white Spanish speaker.
Right. I already am.
I know. And then you're going to be a white Spanish speaker. Like, you can't win that game.
Right.
And I spent a lot of my career studying inside of racial and ethnic diversity. There's colorism within that. Mm-hmm. You're too dark of a Mexican. You're too light. You start playing those games and you don't win. And what you're doing is you're outsourcing you to everybody else and saying, do I have value? Do I have value? Do I have value?
Yeah.
And they don't get a freaking vote because you're Mary from Bakersfield. And your parents, your bio lineage, they let you down. And I'm so sorry. But from today forward, as long as you carry that is you choosing. I want to wake up and have a more miserable day. I want to wake up and die a little bit younger because I couldn't set that down. And
how do I set it down? How do I set it down?
You've got to make a choice to set it down. It can be as simple as this. Once you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and go buy a cinder block, go purchase one. Actually, you probably need 3 or 4. You've had a rough go. And I want you to take a cinder block and put duct tape on it. And I want you to write mi madre. And I want you to carry that sucker around with you until your arms are so achy and it's so heavy. And till you think, I can't hold this any longer. And then I want you to take it out in your backyard and I want you to throw it in the furthest corner and tear the tape off and look at that thing and say, I'm never picking this up again. And what you will have done, it's a tiny little annoying ceremony, kind of like a funeral, if you will. When you have a funeral, you always know that your loved ones is where they are, where they're buried. Their pain, your pain is still in your heart. But you exhale. There's a period at the end of that sentence. And then at some point, I want you to write a letter to your mom and ask her all of those questions. What was so bad about me? Write that letter to your dad. You're not going to send it. This is for you. I want you to write a letter to that 14-year-old Mexican girl in a white Ohioan home who has felt out of place her whole life, just lost at sea. And let her know she's amazing. See what I'm saying? Your body's been at war since day one. And what my prayer for you is peace. I'm gonna send you a copy of Own Your Past, Change Your Future, my book. Okay, I want you to read it start to finish, and it's just gonna be my gift to you. Will you read it if I send it to you?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. In about a month, if you will practice these things, I want you to call me back, and I'll even have you back on the show. And listen.
Okay.
If I have you back and you're like, oh, I did all these things that you said and you're stupid, you can tell the world this guy's a fraud. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But if you'll do those things and you'll keep a journal of all of your negative self-talk, the shoulds, I got tos, I have tos. No, I don't. I'm freaking Mary from Bakersfield. I'm worth being loved. And this person who I don't know, who just stopped me in line at a grocery store and said something to me in Spanish, and I responded back, no hable español. And they made a face at me. I don't even know who they are. I'm not going to let them ruin my day. I don't even know them. I'm going to go on about my day because I'm married from Bakersfield. And my life is good. My life is good. Choose peace, Mary. Thank you so much for being brave, and thank you for the call.